Olá, olá, muito boa noite. Bem-vindos a mais um The Special Marketing Live Show e hoje para falar de um tema muito interessante, o Influencer Marketing, convidei alguém que está nos Estados Unidos, na Califórnia, o Neal Schaffer, um reconhecido especialista na área do marketing. Quem for entrando já agora, deixe aí um comentário, uma saudação. Se quiserem deixar já um hello para o Neal, agradeço, um good night, hello.
Exactly.
E se conhecerem alguém que possa ter interesse, alguém que esteja na área da moda, na área da gastronomia, etc., que possa ter interesse nisto que é o influencer marketing, por favor, etiquetem aí nos comentários, partilhem com as pessoas. Esta é uma oportunidade excelente para termos aqui um profissional de topo a nível mundial para partilhar o seu conhecimento connosco. Acho que é algo que ainda me custa acreditar que ele tenha aceitado o meu convite. A propósito disto também, se calhar daqui a pouco vamos discutir. Aqui há uma semana perguntar-me como é que eu consegui alguém com este prestígio do Neal para ser meu entrevistado, e eu respondi que convidei-o. Foi a forma mais simples que eu encontrei para ter o Neal comigo, ok? Olá, Juanjo, bem-vindo. Juanjo, Neal is in Spain. Do you know some words in Spanish?
Not many.
Okay. He tries harder because
I try.
Yeah, okay. Perfect.
My daughter studies Spanish, she teaches me.
Oh, great. There's lots of people, millions and millions hundreds of millions of people Spanish speaking.
Of course.
Yeah. Então, por favor, estejam aí. Eu hoje vou fazer uma coisa, aliás, porque me pediram. Eu vou fazer, de vez em quando, vou fazer aqui umas interrupções e vou traduzir as ideias bases que o Neal for falando para que todos entendam, ok? Vamos, como é evidente, vamos ter que falar em inglês. Quem tiver questões a colocar em inglês, por favor, esteja à vontade. Quem tiver questões em português, que queira qualquer ideia melhor explicada, por favor, digam para que eu possa fazer, ok? Neal, I was telling people from time to time I will make some kind of putting together your ideas in Portuguese or Spanish for people to understand. So from time to time I will make some kind of you have the speakers on?
Okay.
Together.
Sorry about that.
No problem. So first of all, Neal, it's an honor and a pleasure. I have to thank you again to accept my invitation. It's an honor to have you here, as you may guess. And maybe, if you don't mind, you have to you present yourself so people can know you better. I guess some of them already did that because Google allows it.
Sure.
But if you can introduce yourself a little bit, it would be awesome. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. You heard the echo because I actually went on the Facebook Live to be able to comment. On my screen, I cannot comment, but I'm seeing the contents. Pedro, always an honor to see you, sir. It's amazing how our paths crisscross across this amazing globe. And buenas noches, Juan. Thank you. Juan, nice to see you. Do my best to see the comments there, so keep them coming. My name is Neal. Oh,
I can put the comments on the screen. Okay.
Oh, okay, beautiful.
Okay.
Nice. So I'm sorry, I live in sunny Southern California, which is sunny like Portugal, Spain most of the year, but today is heavy rain, so my room is very dark. So apologies if I look a little dark here.
No problem. No, it's okay.
Yeah, but my name is Neal Schaffer. I have been in the industry of social media marketing for a decade now. I began writing 2 books on LinkedIn many years ago. And in 2013, I wrote my 3rd book called Maximize Your Social, about social media strategy. So I do a lot of blogging. Maximize Social Business is my blog, and I have a podcast, Maximize Your Social. I do a lot of speaking at marketing conferences. I just spoke in Copenhagen. I also teach social media marketing at a few universities. One of them is in Dublin that I go to every year. I also sometimes go to Finland and in Helsinki. And I try to help businesses and people the best I can, because there's a lot of noise out there and there's a lot of advice that marketers get that I don't agree with. I like to have my own perspective based on my own thoughts and allow marketers to be analog creatures in a digital world, to be able to find the right path for their customers, for their bosses, but also for themselves. And, it was 10 years ago when I started a blog, and all these other people were just trying to find local consulting opportunities and local speaking gigs. But I was getting blog comments from around the world. And that's when I realized with digital and social, the world is our oyster. We don't have to limit ourselves geographically. So I've always tried to take on the world, and I've always tried to think global in whatever I do. And yes, this works in the United States, but would it work in Portugal? Would it work in Japan, right? So that's sort of my DNA. And, whenever someone genuine and a great expert themselves like Marco reach out to me, I mean, of course, I'm going to be on his live show. So to me, it's a natural to be here. And I look forward to really, I like to get ROI. We all like to get ROI as marketers. So I want to make sure if you're in the audience listening that you get your ROI. So I hope we have a really good conversation, and we use it as an opportunity that we get to know each other better, but also answer any questions, any things you might have doubts about, or, that we can get covered. So I'll let you, I don't know how much of that, and I'm a fast speaker, which is not going to help your Portuguese translation. Feel free to, take a minute if you want to.
Yeah, ok, thank you. Bom, o Neal acabou de dizer que dos trabalhos dele, além de estar nesta área do social media, dá aulas em várias universidades, mas que gosta muito de ajudar as outras pessoas e que muitas vezes não está de acordo com algumas coisas que são ditas. Outra coisa que o Neal deu aqui bastante ênfase, por favor, coloquem questões para enriquecer a conversa. Seja sobre o que for, hoje a conversa será um pouco mais enfocada no influencer marketing, mas por favor estejam à vontade para colocar questões mais globais, mais genéricas do ponto de vista do marketing, ok? Neal, you talked about something that I talked about some weeks ago, 2 weeks ago maybe. I was invited to a live show via Instagram, and I was asked about 3 tips to become an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And 2 of them you already talked. Because one of them is speak another languages. For me, sure. It's absolutely crucial today. And don't make the point where you are your boundaries. Okay, so I guess I was not so wrong.
Not at all. Okay. Especially in Europe, because Europe is, if you think of Europe as one country, you have so many different languages. It's so limiting if you just know one language and only concentrate on one country.
Ok. Tenemos aquí Raúl. Hola, Raúl, bienvenido. Encantado de tenerte por aquí. Si tienes dudas, por favor, dímelo. Well, let's talk about influencer marketing. Can you tell us, in your view, what is influencer marketing?
So I've been writing a book called The Business of Influence. Generally, there are 2 sort of strains of thought around influencer marketing. The first is the celebrity, like consumer-facing brands, the Instagrammer with 1 million followers, the YouTuber with 10 million subscribers. That's what a lot of people, if you ask them who an influencer is, it's those people. On the other hand, and that's mainly B2C, in B2B, we talk a lot about employee advocacy. We talk about employees as influencers, or salespeople's building influence in networks, or maybe it's the technical engineer or the CTO, right? So, my book is really to give ourselves a reset on the definition of influencers, and really the only way that I see companies should be doing marketing going forward in social media. So I'm actually working, every year I present at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego. Are you going to be out there, Marco?
No, not yet.
Oh, man.
I wish one day I could go.
Every year, that's where I prepare my newest material. But I'm developing the content, but I've come to the realization. So I recently did this round the world business trip. So, Dublin, Berlin, Copenhagen, London, Singapore, Tokyo. I did not get a chance to go down to Portugal. Really sorry.
Yeah, you need. You should.
But when I was in Singapore, I was having a meeting with a very, very famous consumer brand, and they were in the beauty industry, and they were launching a new brand, and they said, well, how else can we reach our audience if we don't use influencers? And they weren't even thinking organic social or paid social or TV. It was 100% influencer marketing. And I think in Southeast Asia and in China, we're seeing influencer marketing really, really go beyond what we have in Europe or North America. But it raises a really, really good point. And I kept thinking about that in the plane home. If we don't work with influencers, who are we going to work with? Because you're at a point now, and tell me whenever you want me to stop so you can translate. This is like the important part I'm going to get to. You're at a point now where I'm going to say, and I just recorded a podcast I'll publish probably tomorrow. You'll hear me talk about this more, but marketers suck at social media. No matter how hard marketers try, right? It looks like an ad. It's spam. It's just awkward. And I'm not to say there aren't some brands like Taco Bell or Coca-Cola or Red Bull that do it well, but I think 99% of marketers have had a decade, have had 10 years to try to figure out how to write really engaging content. And they're still trying to figure out, how do I humanize my brand? How do I use video? Meanwhile, you have, Instagrammers that are really, really good at, it's like, wow, they're better than brands, right? So I think this 10 years of organic social media marketing experimentation is sort of coming to an end. That brands should be working with content creators, right? Now, you have content creators, some are more influential than others, but most content creators today are social media users. They have a social media network. So there's different levels of influence that they have. But then with the way that organic social and limited reach works, on Facebook especially, the fans are not hearing you. So the only way to cut through the noise and be heard in the algorithms is to leverage other people, right? And on Instagram, brands may get some attention, and but in general, the writing's on the wall. So organic social is not going to work. And paid social is more and more going to be seen as an advertisement, like it is. It's the natural DNA of companies to advertise with paid social. And it gets more expensive because everybody else is doing it, right? So the only way to really cut through and be heard is through people. And let's flip the funnel. All the money that companies spend going to these conferences trying to learn how to create content or, whatever, and all the paid ads, if they could invest all of that into people, into relationships, into the people that are already following the brand, the people that are already customers of the brand, right? And if they can create community, and I have a blog post, Influencer Marketing is about community, not campaign. If they can actually create community and foster this group of this community of social media users, some more influential than others, but create their own army of influencers. And I think that is the direction. And I already saw it with this brand. They were the first one that I had heard of that's actually going to be creating an army. And I'm now pitching another brand on doing that locally. I think that is the way forward of the money and resources we've invested in everything else. At the end of the day, social media, and when I talked in Tokyo, when I talk about influencer marketing in the United States, people are like, yeah, I don't know. In Tokyo, they got it because how did brands get to be famous? It was word of mouth marketing before social media. And brands are invested in social media for word of mouth marketing. But when organic social is not viral, there's no word of mouth. The only way to get a word of mouth is to get people to use your product and talk about it in social. And that's the role of other social media users, which I call influencers, because I'm redefining it. It's a social media user that has some influence. And often they have more influence than brands do because people are favored in the algorithms. So I believe in 2019, I'm calling it second generation social media marketing, or V2, whatever you want to call it. I believe that's the direction that people need to go. And we need to re-educate marketers on who an influencer is, because it could be an employee. It's anyone you can collaborate with, right? And some people want money, some people don't want money, some people want free product, some people want a unique experience. I don't know, right? It's people. So there's no digital mechanical way of treating people like an ad unit. Like a lot of these influencer programs that I get invited to be part of, they treat me like an ad unit. We want to get 2 stories, 4 photos by December 7th midnight, and this must mention this and this must mention that. People don't work that way. And if the influencers of today do work that way, I don't really consider them influencers. They're ad units. And I don't know how authentic their message is with their audience. So I'm really excited because I don't see anyone else talking about this, Marco, and I'm really passionate about it because I think it's going to be good for brands. It's going to help them get closer to the end consumer, and it's going to be good for people because they feel that brands are going to be invested in their happiness. So that's sort of my take on the world and my take on influencer marketing. And we can go further, but until we can agree on this, anything we talk about, we're not going to be able to agree on. So does all that? I'll give you a chance. That's a lot to translate. Does all that make sense? First of all.
Well, I guess they are understanding because they are commenting about it. So I'm gonna put the comments on the screen so you can comment the comments. Okay, I will translate for you. Okay, Raul comment about how important it is to talk several languages.
And Raul, I will say I like that you have both. I assume this is Portuguese and English. So I have this.
No, Spanish.
I'm sorry. I know Spanish Portuguese very, very similar.
Yeah.
Apologies for not recognizing the difference. But I also speak Japanese, and I have a big Japanese fan base on Instagram. And at some point, I realized that if I keep talking in English, I'm not going to gain any Japanese followers. So if I want Japanese followers, I have to go the extra effort of whenever I post on Instagram, post in English and Japanese. And I'm stuck to it, and I've been able to maintain and grow that base. So if you want to acquire multilingual clients, you need to speak their language and go out of your way to do it in social media as well. So I love the fact that you did that. That reminded me to talk about that.
And as you say, for me, it's truly and absolutely important. Humanize things.
Yeah.
And when you make the effort to speak the language of the other, to understand the other, I guess it makes you away from your competitors, because people notice when you do this, when you go a step behind the others. And for me, one thing you talk about the customers you have, the community you have. Some weeks ago, I also saw a post from Jeffrey Eisenberg, which was also my invited some answers ago. It's that people has had budgets to everything, unless to customers.
Right.
How are you spending to your customers, satisfying your customers? Do you have any budget to that? Usually here in Portugal, they used to say, well, he's already our customer, let it be. Don't bother.
Yeah, it's funny. And when I was talking to my client in Japan, their CEO, he was saying, I was brought up in the countryside, and when I learned business, you do anything you can to make your customers happy. And if you make your customers happy, that is the key to business success, because they will buy more from you and introduce you to more, right? And that's always been his single tenet, and he's become very, very successful entrepreneur. So, there's a book actually. Well, I need to level up my computer, so I actually have a bunch of books. I had Jay Bear's book. Let me show you this. So I talked about this. I don't know how many of you. I'm going to lose a light here. I don't know how many of you are friends with me on Facebook, and I'm very public. But this book is very popular in Japan right now, called Customer Success, and it's about that same tenet. It was made by, I think, one of the founders of Salesforce, and it actually came out in 2016. It's not famous at all in the United States, but in Japan, it really touched upon this tenet that, make your customers happy. If they want to do a different business model, you do a business, you let them lead you, and then you will find success when you make them happy. And it's something that really it melds very nicely in the Japanese business culture. And I'll be reading that shortly. So anyway, sorry, not just a sidetrack there.
No problem at all. Because well, you are pushing some interesting subjects, because I guess one of the problems for me, it's that today with the digital, people just talk about metrics, ROI, bounce rate, everything. Like we are just numbers, and that makes me confused, because, and how about humanity, people? Where are they? Because, okay, content is king, customer is king, but after all, numbers are kings and queens. And last Saturday I saw a PowerPoint about a Schubert incomplete symphony, something like that, and it was paid by a company. It's a kind of joke or something, and the joke it was a concert paid by a company. The CEO couldn't make it to go there, so he sent some executive there to analyze the play and so on. And after he made a report. And for instance, he told me, well, there's 5 instruments all playing the same. Why? Cut. They repeat the same thing over and over. Cut. And that kind of things, you know? And after all, he said, well, if Schubert made it right, he couldn't finish the symphony.
Wow.
It's amazing because that's
crazy.
what we see every day. Cut, because the numbers don't fit. Cut.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Well, let's go to the comments. Okay.
Sure.
We have here Ilse.
Oh,
was also from Venezuela.
My part of the world.
She was very, very happy with the have you here? Well, I have to translate. How important it is to have to be in mind about some of we are more influencers than another ones. It's like a chain of influence, not in just another direction, but in lots of directions.
Mm.
Okay.
Yes. No two influencers are alike. One and no two mommy bloggers are alike. One mommy blogger may be influential in nutritionist meals for kids. Another may be influential. And so, but then you have like people that are fashion influencers that also have children. And when they talk about their children, they might be, so we're all have different levels of influence among many, many different things. And I think it's a lot more complex subject than a lot of people think.
Yeah, it is. Yes, Marketing Before Social Media by Neal Schaffer. And happy workers, happy customers.
Totally.
Humans up. Great, Marco.
Thumbs up for that.
Yeah. Not everything are metricas, nor vanity metrics. It's like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The important is to have customers and workers happy, satisfied. Well, we can talk about how to become an influencer, and we can talk about the two ways you talked about, B2B and B2C. Some path, some way to become an influencer.
Yeah. So in my book, I actually encourage businesses to become more influential in their industry, because it's going to help them when they reach out to influencers. Influencers like to work with famous companies. It looks good on their resume. They're very proud because they're human that a bigger company would reach out to them. So, and there's also a chapter on how people can become more influential, because I meet a lot of marketers who everyone wants to become an influencer these days. So I think, it's just like marketing in general. You need to start with the end in mind. What does an influencer look like to you? What are the brands that you want to work with? What is the end goal? So if you can answer that, then what's going to happen is it's part branding, part content. I want to be known as like, the guy in the fashionable suits. Well, fine. You're going to have to be publishing a lot of content of you wearing fashionable suits, right? And if you know those end brands, are you a Hugo Boss type? Are you a, I don't know, right? Are you a Zara type? Depending on that, that's going to define your style as well. But basically, and it's funny for me as well. I'm pretty late to the influencer marketing scene. There have been people that have been blogging about influencer marketing for many years. I saw it as important because my clients told me it was important, and therefore I said, okay, I'm going to invest in it. So a lot of people now see me as an influencer marketing expert because I have blogged and talked about it, right? So the way that people become influential is by being a content creator and creating content around that subject is the key thing. So if you want to become an influencer for fashion, yet you're always posting food on your Instagram profile, you're going to attract other foodies. You're not going to attract people interested in fashion, right? So you are what you tweet. So it begins with sort of that objective, and then what is the content that you need to create to get to that objective? And then from there, there's obviously a lot of other things you need to do, but that's really the starting point that I think a lot of people need to have. And then, you know, how are you going to be different from all the other million people doing the same thing, right? How do you differentiate yourself? What is your branding? Some of these other things. But even just starting with those two things can start you to build a community that's very targeted around a subject matter. And even you can proactively pitch brands, even starting with a few hundred, few thousand followers. Hey, you know, I have a community that's really into fashion. You can check out some of my photos, the engagement. I'd love to work with your brand. And, you know, a lot of influence will pitch themselves. They don't wait for brands to reach out to them. They'll pitch themselves to the brands they want to work with. So that's really the, and that's more B2C. B2B, I think, is going to be a lot more blogging, in all honesty. It could be video like this, but it's going to be more content centric. It's less about a photo and more about, you know, thoughts. But it's the same process, right? Start blogging, start creating content around that subject matter. Get yourself out there, brand yourself as the expert, and go from there.
Well, perfect. So the next question, because we came from a paradigm about celebrities,
yes,
TV and so on, and then we have influencers. I guess it's important for a company which wants to do influencer marketing to know the differences between one and another, because some of them think that celebrity is still the thing.
Sure.
But maybe it's not.
Right. I think so. This gets down to the democratization of everything. So for those of us that remember life before the internet, right, it was very limited as to what we could see on TV. We all watched the same channels pretty much. So the celebrities had a monopoly, right? So then the internet happens and people start to find blogs and they start to find YouTubers, and then Instagram happens. And now, you know, the reason why probably Southeast Asia and China are so advanced is they did not even have landline phones. They went straight to mobile. And because the media probably wasn't that well developed, instead of waiting for TV content to get better, they went straight to YouTube. So to them, TV is YouTube. So those celebrities on TV, they don't see, but they talk about ninja and gamers that we've never heard of, but every kid at my kid's school knows. Those are the celebrities of today that were possible because of the democratization of media and the democratization of influence. So these are people that now are saying, you know what, I get as many views on my YouTube channel that a TV show may get, so I can demand the same prices. And that's where you see celebrities or influencers that have huge audiences on YouTube and Instagram, particularly, getting a lot of money because they have the eyeballs that normally went to traditional TV or traditional media. So, you know, when I look at these people, it's like, well, you're working with a celebrity. Would you have hired a TV actor for an influencer campaign? If not, why would you spend that much money to hire one of those celebrities when there's lots of other different levels of people with influence? So maybe they don't have 1 million followers, but they have 100,000 followers. So maybe instead of touching, you know, 10,000 people with a post, they touch 1,000 people. And by the way, your organic social posts are only getting 50 engagements, right? Because marketing sucks and the way the algorithms work. So if you look at it that way, and the fact that it's just a different paradigm when someone talks about you versus when you promote yourself, right? From a human perspective. So, and then, you know, depending on the content and the social network, it might have a long lifespan. Traditional marketing campaigns, they start today, they're gone tomorrow. Something on Instagram may live for a few days. The hashtag may be searched upon later, or the YouTube video found later. So it's a completely different paradigm shift, really. And I think that in the B2C space, most marketers started working with these people that are now celebrities that are charging a lot of money. And I don't know who's paying it, but some people are paying a lot of money for them. And then you have other people that maybe don't have as much influence, but they see how much money's out there. Maybe they buy fake followers, they get fake engagement. So there's a lot of gray zone. I'll be very honest. And that's why I like to go to the micro and what we call the nano. So the micro maybe between 5 to 50,000, and then the nano, 500 to 5,000, because they're real. They're not gaming the system. They have a niche audience, but it's very, very engaging. And I think that's where, instead of working with one or two celebrities, we can work with an army of nano influencers and really foster them to become this community of influencers that we want to work with in the future. And maybe we'll get great ideas from them for future product, or you know what I mean? They become they become a quasi agency because they're content creators, right? So it's not easy. It's not easy to find them. And they need to be educated. And this brand in Singapore was saying, we want to teach these people because they love our brand. We just want their creative photography to be a little bit closer to these like celebrities in terms of the level. So we want to like offer them free courses on photography. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm sure they'd love to do that, right? Because it's going to help them. And I think that's the mindset, right? So yes, with the celebrities of the past, the influencers today, it's very different. It's different audiences. Depending on the demographic, my parents are not on social media every day. They still watch TV. So there's still a world for TV, especially older. But think of the younger generations. I mean, they're just not, it's all on YouTube, right? And it's all social media. And as that generation, we know the millennials in the United States are a majority of the workforce. And I know in Japan is very similar to Western Europe. You have an aging population. How do you reach out to the new consumer buyer that's a younger generation? That's the way to do it. And it's visual. It raises a lot of issues for brands. How do we do an Instagram story, and that's why collaborating with people that do that really well, it's such a natural win-win.
Perfect. We have a question for you. Olá, Nuno. Muito obrigado pela pergunta.
Only one.
You can ask Neal, how do you see yourself as an influencer, and what do you think is the future of the game?
So I never considered myself an influencer. You can't label yourself an influencer. It's what people think of you, obviously. But over the years, I think because I've been at this in a decade and I've published hundreds of blog posts, 130 podcasts, up to 3 books, I've gotten my thoughts out there, and people can agree or disagree with them. But the people that agree end up seeing me as an influencer, right? So number one, I think it takes time, and I think it's a natural result of everything I've done. So, is part of it luck? Probably. Is part of it timing? Probably. I don't know, right? Which is why if you're trying to scientifically become an influencer, those are the challenges. There is some luck, there is some timing. But, the game is going to continue to be there because it gets harder and harder for brands to be able to reach consumers in a social first age or even a digital first age. So there's always going to be a need to collaborate with others. That's why I think, influencer marketing is not just an item. Hey, we have a new product launch. Let's use it as part of the campaign. It becomes, influencer relations almost becomes like the public relations of the future, right? Public relations is about influential people in the media. Who are the influencers in social media? They're not the press people, they're the Instagrammer or the YouTuber, right? So it's the same sort of influencer relation mentality that to me means that there's going to be a need for influencers. Now, as far as the game goes, how much you're going to make per post or how you're going to get business, I think that what we're going to see, and I wrote an ebook on this for those that are interested, working with a technology company that's developed some artificial intelligence. So if your follower number spiked up by 1,000 overnight, they're going to catch it and know that you bought fake followers, because that does not happen organically. If you get 50 comments over the course of an hour and none of those 50 follow you, they're going to realize it came from an Instagram pod. So I think that with the use of AI and machine learning, the technology is getting really good at weeding out those that are the fakers, meaning that those that are actually authentic are going to come out on top. And I think that, when I see people, okay, I'll be completely honest with you. And as I was writing the book, I'm like, who are these Instagram influencers? How do you get 100,000 followers on Instagram when you don't have a website, right? When you're not on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, because Instagram is not viral. You only see things in your feed from people you follow, unless you go searching, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people search and follow a lot of new people, but I have 15,800 followers on Instagram, but I have 200,000 followers on Twitter. So I am always trying to re-engage with my audience and find them on Instagram, knowing that somewhere, they're on Instagram. If I can find them and engage with them, I can try to get that 15,800 up. But if I did not start being influential on another network, how on Instagram, how on earth could you get to that number? When I see people like Mari Smith or Jen Herman at the 15, 10, 20,000, 30,000. So I have a lot of question marks as to how many of those people are real and how many of those people did a lot of buying fake following and purchase fake engagement. And if you're a marketer, you probably agree 100% with me. So I do see, I do see the more use of technology. I think there's already technology that's starting to do that and really weed out those people. And I think there's going to be a shakeout. And I think that Instagram, Facebook, obviously, that you can opt influencers into campaigns and see the performance. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, of allowing brands to be able to basically use author technology so that we can directly access when there's a campaign and they use a hashtag, directly access that data and really see who are these people that are engaging. Is it real? Is it fake? What have you? So that's the future. So, it's still the Wild West, and you can still, I'm sure there's a lot of people get away with a lot of fakeness. But at the end of the day, real people, real followers, real engagement. I'm still an idealist, maybe, but I do believe that's going to win.
Well, that's one thing that happens to me lots of times. People follow me, and a week later unfollow. That's the
Sure.
bots working, and they have the ratio following. It's also something unbelievable. But that's one point I really want to ask you. How we could identify the right influencer for my business?
Sure. And, the follower following thing is interesting. I have no problem. And, I have done this on Twitter. And a lot of people do it on Twitter. You follow someone, you tap them on the shoulder. If they're interested, they follow you back. If they're not interested, after a while, you unfollow them. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that in my mind, right? Because you're seeing if they want to engage with you. And there's a limitation as to how many people you can follow on Instagram, which is 7,500. Twitter does not have the limitation, but it's a branding thing, right? So I think it's okay. And in fact, if you want to expand your community, you got to tap people on the shoulder. You got to comment, you got to like, and strategically you have to follow. That's my own personal opinion. So I wouldn't be afraid of what gets me are the people that they follow you. You're like, wow, that person looks really interesting. I think I'm going to follow them back. And then they unfollow you as soon as you follow them back.
Yeah,
those are the people.
That's what I was talking about.
That is evil, right? So I do not, that is not a good idea. But how do you find influencers? Well, here you go. Hold on a minute here. Okay. The best way to find influencers are going to your followers. So remember, businesses spend all this money outside of their customers. So you start with the people that have the most brand affinity with you, and those are your customers. So if your customers haven't followed you on social media, it makes it a challenge. But first, go into your followers on social media. It's such a natural place to start. That's why whenever I get the question, I'm like, dude, come on, are you serious? Start with your fans right now. Most of them may have under 100 followers. I don't know, but there's got to be a few that have over 500 followers there, right? And when you start with people that here's the thing. Like my client, right? They're like, well, influencer marketing is going to be really big for us in 2019. I'm like, hey, that's awesome. What have you done? Well, we've thrown $500 at a few, influencers, and they never measured the result, right? It's like, these are people probably for product will do things for free for you, right? Maybe for like $50. Well, and they're your fan, and they know your product. You don't need to educate them, and it's going to look more authentic because they may have talked about you before as well, right? And this is how you incite word of mouth marketing. It's not by working with someone that has the least brand affinity with you that might be an influencer, who for them it's a one night stand. It's a gig, and then they move on to the next brand, and then they it's building some sort of loyal audience, beginning with your fans. So I would literally, and one of the case studies in my book is a hotel. And when they went in looking at, it was a hotel, like a Lowe's hotel in Philadelphia. I forget, it's a case study. But when they looked in at like 14,000 followers, like, holy smokes, they had some really influential followers there. And, with tens of thousands of followers that were also content creators. It's great photos. They had them stay at the hotel over the weekend, room service, champagne. Oh, my God. They had them take over the account one day. it was amazing. So start with your followers, start with your fans. It's such a natural thing to do. And then once you exhaust that, you obviously look at people that are talking about you. They may not have converted into a fan, but they talk about your brand or they talk about a similar product. So there might be an interest, right? And instead of saying, we'll give you a 30-day free trial, or here's a 10% coupon, we want you to be our customer. We want you to try our product. We want to bring you in. We're going to do an event. We'd love to we know that you're using someone else's product. We want you to try we have an event, come, let's have lunch. I mean, it's that sort of relationship building that I think is necessary. So begin with fans, right? Move out. And if you're B2B, also, work your employees, your partners into it, your customers, if they have social accounts, that should be the starting point. And that's really the redefining of influencer marketing, not in terms of influence, but in terms of brand affinity that I recommend, not in terms of size, but in terms of closeness to the brand, to the heart. And if you can do that, I think you're at the beginning of creating something very, very special. And because organic social is dying, you don't need a lot of nano influencers to be able to show, by working with 5 people, we get more engagement than we do with our own posts. And you just need to get to that trigger, right? That tipping point to be able to say, okay, we're going to keep going. We're going to bring it from 5 people to 10 people to 25 people. And maybe if we need to bring in a celebrity, because the Singapore fashion brand does use one celebrity, but they're going to give all the other nano influencers a chance to meet the celebrity once a year, right? Very special thing. So if you have the budget for a token celebrity, fine, because that can really help your program and help recruit other people, right? Hey, we work with so-and-so. But that's how you do it. And it's not, this is where you get on your analog cap. And, my agency offers influencer marketing services, and it's a lot of data analysis, profile analysis. Does the content creation, does the creativity and the style fit the brand? It's a lot of reaching out and contacting. It's recontacting. It's trying to build relationships, trying to figure out what they would want out of a collaboration. Then it's sourcing some content and next showing the client, hey, what do you think? It's a lot of communication, a lot of project management, right? So that is what I think influencer marketing comes down to. And traditionally, for marketers that are used to digitally just plugging something into a dashboard, and it's a very, very different style of relationship building. Like I said, it's closer to a PR approach, influencer relations, than it is marketing. But I think that's the direction that we're going to be going, and that's how you find a very roundabout answer, but that's how you find your first.
Yeah, it seems nice. It seems nice. Well, let's see the comments again. Nuno says authenticity and engagement, being real. Great. We have one question from Raul. How about the influence of our family and friends? I'm sure it's very powerful.
Yeah, influence, we're only talking about online influence. My brother's a successful entrepreneur who does not do social media, yet he runs in very influential circles. So yes, influence is not a new concept by any means. And there's also offline influence. There's the realtor in the community who knows everybody, right? So yeah, absolutely. Family, friends. I mean, start with people really. And it's at the least, it's going to give you the experience of creating this sort of collaboration model, so that when you reach out more and more to people you don't know that are more influential, and you're competing with other brands, you'll already know how to do this. You'll already be accustomed to knowing how to engage with others. I mean, I get some brands that reach out to me, and I'm thinking they've never engaged with influencers before, because they're sending me the wrong signals. I definitely do not want to do business with this company, and you don't want to become that company. So start with your fans. Start with whether family, friends, those that are close to your company, those that are close to yourself, and go from there. I mean, when you start a Facebook page, you invite your friends first, right? To like your page. It's the same concept.
Great. Let me see. What is your opinion about eliminate the like on Twitter?
I don't think it really matters. I always thought the like was sort of a vanity metric. I always tell people, I just recorded a video with the folks at SEMrush, and it's going to be a free video in their SEMrush Academy on social media marketing. I can't wait. Probably come out in April. And I had like 5 minutes to cover Twitter. So one of the things I talked about was the old retweet and the new retweet. And obviously, I sometimes do the new retweet when I'm lazy, but people do not look at their notifications per se, but they look at app mentions, right? So I don't know how many people look at all the likes you do, but if you mention them and have a conversation, and if Twitter wants to encourage less of things that are automated like likes could be automated with an IFT, and more authentic engagement, you got to get people talking. So I don't think it's a negative thing at all. I think it's a good thing. And I don't think marketers should be concerned that there's going to be negative impact from that. That's my take on it.
That's perfect. It's something very important, interesting. You talked about the engagement and that. And as you may know or guess, I'm a lover about the live video, live streaming, because one of the advantages is that, as you may see, it makes people engage and comment and so on. But I'm going to ask for some more questions and comments.
My friend, let's do it.
Bueno, chicos, por favor, más dudas, más cuestiones, por favor, más comentarios. Si conocéis a alguien que pueda tener interés en este directo, por favor, etiquetarlo, compartir este directo, porque está siendo potente, muy bueno, ¿vale? Vamos ahí a darle. Si no conoces a nadie, por lo menos dale ahí unos me gustas, por favor, ¿vale? Para que Neal se sienta mejor con lo que estamos aquí, ¿vale? Por favor. Bueno, I was asking for them to engage. That's one thing. It's also important when you are trying to build your influence, is to ask for CTAs, ask people to engage. It's important, because most of the time people, okay, it's a nice, but I don't know what to do that now.
Yeah.
So maybe when you are trying to influence, it's good to start influencing.
Yeah, that's a great comment. I get it. I sometimes will join live streams and just sit back. I'm just trying to absorb all the information, and I tend to talk a lot of information. So it doesn't bother me when there's few. I know that people are absorbing. So I'm not in it for the engagement. So I know that I'm reaching people, but I think as an influencer, and it's you build up these communities. Well, where are you going to take your community? These are, in Seth Godin terms, these are tribes, right? Where do you want to lead them? So at some point, and you don't even have to engage, asking for opinions, right? When I created the cover for my new book, I had a few different options. I put it on my Facebook page, Instagram. What do y'all think, right? And I think that's how you build a deeper community. So I'd rather you try to find something that's more authentic and real than artificial. I mean, I see some people in social media, every Instagram post, it's hey, please tag a friend, please comment. It's dude, not everybody wants to comment all the time, and not everything you say should be commentable, right? It's not real. It's too asking for a CTA with every post. I'm not a fan of that. And I think it's the same thing with curated content versus your own content. If you share a lot of other people's content, then when you share your own, it has a lot more impact. So I think the less you ask for engagement, the higher quality and the more you get when you ask for it is really what I'm trying to say here. So don't feel you always need to get it. If you get a like on an Instagram post, or if they click on a link, that's engagement. Be happy, right? But every now and then, ask for opinions, get ideas. I don't think there's anything. I mean, that's probably a best practice, obviously, in community building. But that would be my thought on that.
But there's one point that it's very important. It's to build authority, because it's one of the things that I guess the influencer should do. It's to build authority in which field he is, and comments, questions in real time should work really good, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, once you become an authority, people should want to ask you things. So yeah, that's a natural. And yeah, I mean, that's why live streaming, and in fact, when I do these, or when I do speeches or things that are live, I get lots of content ideas just from the questions, and I'm sure you do as well. Right? Yeah. Build more authority, right? Because you're tapping into the opinion of what people are thinking. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously a great thing, and that's why doing live things. I mean, I don't do as many. My live things are normally speaking events. I don't do live stream. I mean, I don't have my own. I don't do a live Twitter chat. I don't have my own. But live events like this are very, very powerful to allow you to do that.
Yeah. I can guarantee that to you.
Yeah, you're an attestment to that, my friend.
Yeah. Great. Let me see. Raul commenting, very powerful live stream.
I like that.
Great. Se tiverem mais perguntas, por favor, aproveitem. Temos aqui este convidado especialíssimo que nos está aqui a dar informações muito, muito boas. Por favor, aproveitem, porque isto provavelmente não vai acontecer muitas vezes.
You know, it's like my son is a soccer player, right? He's only 11, and every year they have tryouts, so he's trying out for a new team. And his coach said, you know, your son hasn't been that consistent this year with his soccer. I said, Kyle, he's a big Messi fan, right? Like when Messi puts on the boots, people expect he's going to get a goal every game, right? He may not get a goal, but he plays to get a goal. I'm like, you got to do that with your soccer. You got to show the coaches when you put those boots on and when the referee blows that whistle, that you are 100% locked in. And I think live streams and when I speak, I try to do the same. If this is not powerful, why am I spending an hour wasting your time? So I appreciate that you thought it was powerful. I'm not a Lionel Messi by any means, but if you're going to be on a live stage, you should perform and give something and pay it forward and inspire and educate others. So I really appreciate that comment.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell. Lately, I've been talking more often about live streaming and so on because I have some expertise now, some experience doing this.
Sure.
And one of the things people ask me is the length of the video. And for instance, I have one with 4 hours.
Wow.
It won't go longer because Facebook wouldn't allow it. Just 4 hours. But one thing I used to say, don't bother with the length, bother with the quality of the content you are delivering. It's the most important because people used to say, oh, the video should be short and so on because don't see it. Not true.
Not true anymore. Yeah, I agree.
No. Because, for instance, Gary Vaynerchuk commented on, I guess it was in the Ask Gary V show about the myth of the length of a video. How many of you know someone who spends the whole weekend watching Netflix? Lots of people spend all the weekend watching Netflix.
Right.
So the length, it's the quality.
Yeah.
But you talk about one thing that for me it's very important to become an influencer. Constancy.
Yeah. You need to be there.
Yeah, because people say, oh, you put a post on Instagram once a week or once a month, and then, oh, it doesn't work. I couldn't make it to become an influencer. Why so? Yeah, it doesn't work with me.
The problem is that there's competition out there for influence, right? There's competition for eyeballs. So, and if you're on Instagram and the way the algorithms work, I am going to prioritize people that publish on a daily basis and they get good engagement on a daily basis. And maybe if there's leftover space, we'll throw in people that publish weekly. But I think daily, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge for me as well. But for Instagram, you got to get to the point where you're publishing daily. I think that I don't think you need to publish more than that. I think if you can publish daily, you can do really well. But that should be the goal as far as that goes. When it comes to live stream, I mean, I podcast. I aim for once a week. I think that's plenty. And I assume that your live stream is once a week as well, Marco?
Twice, more or less.
Great. If you can do more than once a week, that's awesome. I mean, the problem is you get into, with podcasts and with live streams, you get into how much of it's going to be your content and how much of it is going to be interviews. And if it's interviews, how do you get people lined up over time, right? That's the challenge. So my podcasts have generally been my own. They have not been the interview style, although I've been doing a little bit more interviews lately, but that's the challenge there. But yeah, it doesn't have to be every day like with some content mediums, but with Instagram and with Twitter and with Facebook and with LinkedIn, with all those, you really got to be able to publish daily. And for everything else, I'd say weekly, blog, podcast, video, that should be the goal to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have some questions around coming. Do you think the brand ambassador influencers are the customers and the workers?
They could be. They could be a customer, could be employee. They absolutely are. I mean, think about it. If you work for a company, your livelihood is tied to that company, right? So now if you're not a happy worker there, that's another story. But assuming you're a happy worker there, you're a natural ambassador for the brand. The question then is, are you in social media? Would you be willing to post content about the company in social media, right? And if so, what content, what social network? So employee advocacy like influencer marketing, I think has been done wrong, because brands, companies did not see employees as influencers. They saw employees as people that can amplify their marketing message. Treat employees as influencers. Figure out a way to collaborate with them. We know you're already posting in social. We'd love to find a way to work together. How can we support you? And I know that the employee advocacy programs that are successful are the ones that do a lot of training on personal branding, how to use LinkedIn, how to use Twitter. So, I think with a little bit of investment in training in your employees, you can find that. But if you just want to, here's a tool, here's the content, just, every day, just say yes to 2 articles and that'll be awesome. That's not the way it works, right? So, yeah, they can become, absolutely can, but it's all about, this is the era of people power in social media. And it's recognizing that, and it's recognizing that you're not above people as a brand or as a marketer. You're collaborating with others, and the better you collaborate, it's a marriage, not a one-night stand, right? How do you know what restaurant that person wants to go to without having a conversation with them? Do you like Italian, Spanish? I don't know. Have a conversation. There's too few conversations going on. That's the point. Whether it's employee advocacy or influencer marketing.
Yeah, it's true. One of the things for me, it's weird. It's the corporate language.
Yeah.
Very gray, very whoa, no.
Very cold.
You should humanize. No. It's corporate language. No.
This is why startups do really well, like on Instagram, who majority of the budget working with influencers. So just like 30 years ago with the internet, there was some of the old brands didn't last long. You're going to see a lot more successful startups because they get this new world where the older brands do not get it. So it's their loss, right?
Yeah. Let's go to the comments. A nice one. Nice question. Does exist a limit on the amount of exposure an influencer should have?
Why would there be a limit? We have a president who has quite a bit of exposure. So I don't think that, maybe I'm misunderstanding your question, but it's if they built such a community that everybody that's interested in the subject follows them, that's an awesome thing. So I can't think of an instance where someone has too much influence. And maybe, like I said, I'm misunderstanding the question.
Maybe he was, how often should he shows him? I guess it should be, if he should appear in a daily basis, creating and sharing content and sharing ideas and so on, or too many times a day and so on.
This gets back to the length of content question, right? So this assumes you have enough quality content. If you don't have enough quality content to post daily, you don't post daily. That's the number one rule. So this is assuming you have the quality content. So never be a slave to an editorial calendar. Well, I got to post every day, and then the quality takes a hit, and the quality is bad. Everything should be highest quality. That's the key thing. So you start with highest quality. If you have high quality things and you're able to publish daily, that's awesome, because it is a war for attention. Because everybody else is trying to get the influence like you are, right? This is a war. It is an absolute war, even though we're all friends. Yes, you're not going to, and you know what? If they see too much of you, they'll stop engaging with you. And if you see your engagement go down, then you'll know to take a step back. So this is what I do. I aim Everyone's different, but if I was going to start out, and Instagram is a really easy one, right? So what is your average engagement rate on Instagram? Let's say it's 1%. So if you have 1,000 followers, you normally get, well, if it was 1%, you'd get like 10 likes. Let's say it was 10%, you get 100 likes. I mean, I don't know, right? Or let's say 5%, you get 50 likes. Do not post another photo until you get 5% engagement on your last photo, if 5% is your goal. And if you do this over the course of a few weeks, you're going to see the content that resonates as well as the content that doesn't resonate. But if every time you post on a daily basis, if you're able to get that 5%, that's really awesome. And brands look at that as being really, really awesome, because celebrities do not get 5%. The bigger your following, that engagement rate on average goes down. So let that, I'm an analog guy, and Marco and I were talking, but I do like to look for insights from data that can help me with my analog marketing. And that's one very, very simple thing you can do. If you think posting every day is too much, wait until you hit that. But if you hit that, keep posting. And there's some days where I post twice because I hit that really early, especially when I'm traveling, like when I was in Europe or in Tokyo, what have you. So, but if I don't get it, I don't post. Maybe I wait 2 or 3 days until I post again, because I want to make sure I try to maintain that every photo has a minimum. So this works really well on Instagram. It could work on other networks as well, but that's what I would do as a way of using data, for your own situations that you're not posting too frequently.
Great. Can you point some mistakes in influencer marketing?
Where do we start? I mean, that's a very, very broad question. Brands that work with the wrong influencers, brands that require influencers to cut and paste a message that looks like an ad, brands working with influencers and telling them to use certain content that doesn't look authentic, brands setting unrealistic expectations working with influencers. So I think a lot of the mistakes are in choosing the wrong influencer, or managing them the wrong way, or not giving the influencer the creativity to do what they do best, because they built their community with their own style. And why would you not want to leverage that style for your brand? So those are the biggest mistakes I see happening.
So what you are saying is, if you have to give lots of guidelines to your influencer, maybe it's not the right influencer.
Yes. You're treating them as a programmable ad unit. That's what I'm talking about. I totally understand parameters. We do not want any competitors mentioned in the image. We do not want any alcohol in the image, because we might have teenagers buy our product. I mean, that stuff, obviously. We would rather have lighter colors than darker colors, right? That stuff I get. But when you have too many parameters, it's very stifling, and it stifles the creativity, because these are content creators. These are artists in their own outright. And you should, by respecting that, I think you get a lot better engagement, right? So that's what I see a lot of bad things happening in the market.
Great. And this is a tricky one. How can you monetize when you are an influencer?
Well, the way that influencers monetize is normally, okay, it's the same thing with how do I become a social media marketer? You need to have a track record. You need to have data. You need to show you've done it for a brand, right? So you either start with your own brand, or you help a nonprofit and you build a track record. And then you say, these are the results of what I did for my brand, and you go from there. So in a similar vein, in becoming an influencer, especially on Instagram, they're going to look and see, have you ever published anything with a hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored? And if you have, they know that you're already working with other brands. And so therefore they trust you. If you haven't, then you need to somehow work with brands. And the first way to do it is with free product. A lot more brands are saying, we'll offer you free product. And I think you need to get your feet wet and understand the needs of brands and be able to create a track record that says, okay, if we work with this influencer, on average, we're going to get X number of engagements. And it shows that you've already started to work with brands as well. So you need to start very modest. When I started speaking, it was for free. I don't speak for free anymore. But that's where everybody starts, right? Your first consulting deal, your first agency client, you always start small and work up from there. So from there, it's a culmination of, you know what, I don't want to do just product because I'm confident enough. I want to get a $20 Amazon gift card. I want to get a $50 gift card. I want to get $100, and you go from there. Or I want to get $50 for a blog post, not $10 or $100. But it takes a long time to be able to make a lot of money from doing this. And I know that people are infatuated with looking at the celebrities, how much they make, but it really does take a long time to build influence, and then to be able to get enough volume. And while working with all these other brands, maintaining your brand image and brand identity is going to be important as well. So you want to work with the right brands. But yeah, that would be my best advice, really.
Yeah, it sounds great. And I guess it could be you can use that advice in any business you choose.
Absolutely.
It's one thing I used to say to people, because what happens here lots of times, it's a young boy, a young girl who comes out of the college and wants to start making money because he has a degree, or she has a degree, and maybe I have to be well paid with zero experience.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you have to show yourself to the public, to your potential customer. You have to show work, and if you want to put that boundary, that closed door, oh, I just work to you if you pay me a lot because I have a college degree.
Yeah, you need a track record. It's a different world, but yeah, you need a track record. And there are people that are already doing this in high school, and when they're in college, they're already building the track record. So you're even at a greater disadvantage if you don't build that as soon as you get out. So that would be my advice there.
There's a boy, American boy. Maybe you know him, Mark Guberty.
Why does the name sound familiar? What is he famous for?
He's a very young entrepreneur. He was my guest some weeks ago.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
And oh my God, he's doing everything, and he's also studying. And he does, and well, he's a machine. It's a amazing boy. I asked him to, and one thing I guess it could be also applied to influencer marketing. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and to do different things. And for instance, I asked him, well, are you a perfectionist? Not at all. I'm a maker. And that's one thing, because one of the mistakes we can make, and I guess it's maybe one of most usual mistakes, is that we try to make a copy of an influencer that we like, or a famous influencer. Let me do as he do, and
there's definitely a lot of that. And I started out 2008 on Twitter, 2009 on Twitter. Hey, I'll share a lot of stuff coming from all the influencers, and you know what? None of them cared. None of them thanked me. None of them followed me. And that's when I realized, you know what? You have to make your own path in life. You have to make your own path as an influencer. And there are some that like to, hey, this is me and Gary Vee, and they're all about showing themselves with these famous people. I'm more like, become your own influencer. You don't have to copy what someone else did, or feel that you need to be affiliated with an influencer to become an influencer. It's about you and the value you provide a community of people. So become your own influencer. And there's a rock band I used to like, and at the end of every show, the bassist would say, paint a picture, write a book, become an artist, start your own band, right? And I cannot agree with that more. So there's no one formula here. And very few people become the Gary Vaynerchuks. And you know what? You may see someone sort of become that way, but then there's always going to be 10 other people doing the same thing. So it never works. You can't repeat history. There are things you can learn. There are some tactics maybe you can use, but at the end of the day, there's only one Gary Vaynerchuk. And if you try to be like him, you'll never be like him. There's only one him. You got to be yourself. So you have to find your own path, your own unique brand, everybody has a unique experience. Everybody has a story to write. You just got to find yours.
Okay, that's perfect. We are almost finishing. Neal, any final thoughts about this?
You have a great community here, Marco, and I appreciate all the comments. I know it's a long time to invest in the evening to watch this, so I know there may not be a lot of you, but those that have stuck around and have come in and out, I thank you for watching. And let's keep in touch and see how we can help each other. And if you ever have any question, if you're on the, I guess I'll go back to the live stream on your page and follow the comments there. But let's use that as a way to keep in touch and let's keep the conversation going. This is the first time, and we'll keep in communication.
Okay, thank you a lot, Neal. Let's do the final goodbyes. Bem, espero que tenham gostado tanto como eu. Foi efetivamente 1h10 de conteúdo muito bom. Se quiserem continuar a seguir o Neal, ele está identificado nos comentários ou na descrição do vídeo. Também o podem encontrar facilmente em todas as redes sociais pelo nome dele. E acho que, como podem ver, é uma pessoa extremamente disponível e aproveitem para entrar em contato com o Neal, porque podem tirar informações preciosas. A quien esté ahí del otro lado de la frontera, o quien esté hablando castellano, os agradezco muchísimo el tiempo que estuvieron aquí. Fue para mí un directo muy bueno. Si queréis seguir a Neal, basta buscarlo en las redes por su nombre. Aquí igual está etiquetado en la descripción del vídeo y podréis encontrarlo, y seguro que os contestará, porque es una persona muy cercana, muy amable, y como podréis ver, igualmente con mucho contenido para compartir. Os agradezco muchísimo. Muito boa noite. Fiquem em contacto, por favor. Se conhecerem alguém que possa ter interesse neste vídeo, partilhem, identifiquem nos comentários, enviem por mensagem, ok? E estamos em contacto, ok? Já agora, quem estiver aí, os últimos agradecimentos ao Neal, desejem umas boas noites, podem escrever em inglês, ou uns coraçõezinhos para o Neal, para despedida, ok? E espero que tenham gostado. E também, já agora, se quiserem deixar alguma sugestão de algum tema que queiram ver abordado, algum profissional que queiram que eu convide, por favor, também aproveitem a ocasião, seja no direto, seja depois na gravação, para ver. Se estiverem a ver no YouTube, também não se esqueçam de subscrever o canal, como aqui no Facebook também, subscrever as notificações para receber a notificação quando eu entrar em direto, ok? Então desejo-vos um bom resto de noite e tenham... There's a comment, a thank you, Neal. Let me put on the screen. Gracias, Mirka, por estar aí.
Thank you, Mirka.
Okay. Well, bye-bye. Boa noite.
All right, bye-bye.